Rikuo Uozumi gets up early in the morning to feed a black crow that belongs to Haru Nonaka, a young woman. He asks Rikuo for a bento box, which he reluctantly provides. Rikuo receives a letter inviting him to a reunion that day, which triggers an old memory. Fukuda abruptly rings the doorbell and asks his friend for money. They reminisce about how difficult life is in the real world. Rikuo runs into Haru again during his next shift, and Kinoshita develops a crush on him. When a customer walks in, Rikuo recognizes her right away. "Shinako Morinome here." They later meet at a local diner to discuss their lives over the last 6 months. Rikuo walks home, listening to Fukuda's mixed tips until a crow's cry draws his attention. Haru's crow has arrived, and the owner is nearby. They go to a nearby park and begin talking about life and family. She finally tells the young man about her feelings and their first meeting. Haru accidentally runs into Rikuo and Shinako one day. The two young women appear to be acquainted. Shinako seems worried about Haru, who has been suspended from school. Haru abandons the young couple, and they soon arrive at Shinako's house. Haru enters after Rikuo and Shinako have said their goodbyes, scares Rikuo, and begins teasing him. But things take a severe turn when Haru reveals how the couple met and the disadvantages of relationships. Rikuo returns to work and tells his coworker what happened. This inspires the young man to visit his crush and confess his true feelings for her. Shinako, on the other hand, rejects him. The next day, Riku and Haru meet at a nearby playground. The former advises the young man not to tell lies. Haru notices Riku's camera and asks him to photograph her. Shinako changes his hairstyle. Meanwhile, Haru annoys Rikuo at work until Kinoshita annoys her. When she leaves, the two men begin discussing Rikuo's rejection. Shinako is nervous at school because it is graduation day. Shinako returned to her classroom later that day because she had forgotten something. She runs into Ro, who isn't supposed to be there. Shinako is invited to dinner with the boy's family, but she refuses to drink with colleagues. She stops at a playground on the way and runs into Rikuo. The two begin to discuss old memories and how time changes everything. She requests that he stay with her for a little longer. Haru appears just as he is about to respond. The young girl is upset about intruding on the young couple's conversation and flees. Roa, much to his surprise, witnesses the entire scene. The next day, Riku can't stop thinking about Shinako's rejection and discusses it with Kinoshita. Roa enters the convenience store and confronts Riku about his feelings for Shinako. The young man discusses his friendships with Shinako and his older brother. Haru is waiting outside the school for Shinako to watch the cherry blossoms. Riku waits for Shinako outside her flat and tells her about Roa's conversation later that day. Haru has returned to the convenience store. It's pouring outside, but that doesn't stop Riku from leaving and Haru from following. Riku, the young girl, wants to open up to her and love her. But the latter is hesitant, but that does not deter her. Haru goes to the convenience store to see Riku the next day but is homesick with a cold. Kinoshita gives the young lady Riku his phone number so she can check on him. Riku's fever has finally subsided, and Shinako has arrived at his door with food. She quickly hands it over and walks away. Shinako can't help but notice the similarities between Riku and Ro as they walk back. Much to Haru's delight, Riku has returned to work, and he invites him to the movies. Haru runs into Roa on a delivery run and offers him a coffee from her workplace. While closing the bar, she talks with her coworker, Kyuko Sayama, about her living situation and family. Haru's mother, Yoko Akamoto, introduces Haru to her newest partner, Kawashima. Haru is relieved that her mother has met a nice man. Nonetheless, it brings back memories of her father. Haru returns to the convenience store to speak with Riku. Haru is preparing for her date with Riku. Riku, on the other hand, is caring for Shinako, who has a fever. Haru is waiting for Riku outside the movie theater and calls him several times, but he does not respond. Riku abruptly awakens from his nap and walks to the theater, returning to Shinako's flat. However, when he arrives, the place is deserted. He'd like to call Haru but doesn't have her phone number. A dejected Riku walks home, only to meet another dejected Haru. Riku apologizes, but Haru can only express her concern for his safety. Riku tells Haru he is at Shinako's flat, which surprises the young woman. Riku tries to explain why, and Haru realizes that Shinako takes precedence. Riku comes across Haru at a crossroads. The young girl realizes that she will eventually run out of places to run and decides to forgive Riku. Rikuo is working on an art project that he is struggling with. He notices Haru making delivery after class. But before he can say anything, his friend Takashita approaches me. Rikuo expresses his dissatisfaction with the new art tools. Rikuo returns home that night and finds Shinako in the kitchen. The two began discussing Rikuo's love of art and plans. He also mentions how he was always in his brother's shadow. This causes a squabble between Rikuo and Shinako. Haru discusses her colleague with Rikuo's teachers while on a milk haul delivery. Rikuo walks in and starts talking with them about a summer course. Rikuo finds himself in front of a convenience store late at night, buys a notebook, and annoys Riku. Hana enters and immediately recognizes Rikuo. When Riku notices this, he rushes to assist Rikuo with his purchase. Hana and Riku begin bickering, ignoring Rikuo, still standing there. Rikuo becomes agitated when he learns Riku has a backup plan if Shinako fails. Rikuo threatens Shinako with revealing the relationship. Kinoshita enters the room and drags Riku to the back. Haru chooses to walk with Rikuo home. The young couple begins to discuss their lives and their interests. Rikuo returns home the next night to find a letter from Shinako about reheating curry. The young boy can't help but think about Shinako and how Rikuo's older brother came before him. Shinako is visiting Rikuo's old house in Kanazawa, where his father brings out a box containing Rikuo's older brother's old belongings. Meanwhile, Rup is more determined than ever to persuade Shinako to accept him. Fukuda arranged for Rikuo to work at a gallery, administrating and assisting with exhibits. A young man named Yuichi Minato walks into the office looking for work after speaking with his colleague. Later that day, the two ran into each other again and exchanged greetings. Haru appears out of nowhere and invites Rikuo out to eat. Minato recognizes Haru but remembers whom he takes her for a while. They were in the same third-year high school class. Rikuo can't help but feel uneasy, so he decides to relax by asking Rikuo about his photography. But, in the end, Rikuo believes Minato is arrogant. Minato walks into Haru's workplace that night. Meanwhile, Riku, Fukuda, and Shinako go out to drink. Rikuo walks Shinako home at the night's end, while Minato walks Haru. The young girl notices Rikuo and Shinako and attempts to flee, but it's too late. The elder couple sees them. Rikuo and Haru cannot help but be envious. Minato can't stop mentioning that he and Haru are in the same boat. Minato approaches Rikuo in the gallery and inquires if he is dating Shinako. He flatly denies it. Then Minato asks about his feelings towards Haru. However, Rikuo changes the subject. Rikuo runs into Haru outside as he is leaving work. She invites him to dinner, but he declines, preferring to stay home. Minato has been visiting Haru's workplace for the past few days. Kyuko suspects him of having ulterior motives. Haru visits Rikuo at the convenience store but continues giving her the cold shoulder. This, however, does not deter Haru. Minato walks Haru home after work. However, she is beginning to question her former classmates' motivations. Minato unexpectedly invites Haru to hang out. Minato seizes the opportunity and previously asks Haru out. She, however, declines. Even though she believes Rikuo regards her as a backup, she cannot abandon him. Minato decides to leave Japan in search of new opportunities after Haru's rejection. They exchange a handshake and say their goodbyes. Minato took first place in the photo exhibition. His entry was a drawing of Haru. Chika Yuzuhara is at the back of the convenience store, waiting for Riku. He doesn't recognize her at first, but he freezes when she tells him her name. She asks if she can stay with him because she was evicted from her flat. Riku tells Kinoshita about his encounter with Yuzuhara, but his co-worker already knows her. She destroys every music band in which she is involved. Shinako requests that Riku connect her television system. He assures her that he will assist her whenever she requires it. Riku arrives, and Yuzuhara has prepared dinner for the two of them. But it's only to soften the blow. Yuzuhara wants to stay at Riku's place longer. Riku is given a new job opportunity. If only he had the desire to become a professional photographer. Riku falls on top of Yuzuhara when he returns home. Yuzuhara agrees, believing these are a sexual exchange for allowing her to stay. Riku, on the other hand, is feverish. Yuzuhara explains why she left home. Meanwhile, a tipsy Shinako attempts to walk home but ends up at the convenience store, where Haru notices her. Kinoshita informs them that Riku is ill, and the two girls accompany him to his flat. They are, however, taken aback when Yuzuhara opens the door. The following day, Yuzuhara informs him that Haru and Shinako have stopped, causing Riku to panic. Riku can't help but tell Haru the truth, and the latter can't help but be irritated. Riku goes to Shinako's flat after work, and the young woman gives him a terrifying stare. Yuzuhara reveals the real reason she broke up with Riku over dinner. Shinako goes to Riku's flat the next day but runs into Yuzuhara. The latter invites Shinako in and explains why she's at Riku's house. Riku returns home to find a farewell letter from Yuzuhara. Haru and Riku are dating. Riku informs her that he has a new job at a photo studio but is concerned that he will not be good enough, mainly since he has never studied photography. Rua and Takashita discuss their plans and how they must change. Rua, feeling impulsive, invites Shinako on a field trip, but she declines. As a result, Rua feels rejected, prompting him to reveal his feelings for her. Shinako goes to the convenience store to confront Riku about her altercation with Rua. Later that night, Rua returns home to find his father and Shinako preparing dinner. The boy apologizes for his role in the heated debate. Before leaving for home, Rua told his friends about being rejected by Shinako. Fukato and Riku discuss Shinako and Riku's friend zone status on the other side of town. Fukato asks Riku to be his wedding photographer as he walks away. Riku asks a co-worker to lend him a camera. The latter gives Riku sound advice on his photographic future. At Rua's house, the young man unintentionally triggers Shinako's memory of you, causing her to cry. Ro promises Shinako that he will step in for his brother. Shinako ends up at Riku's flat, waiting for him because she has nowhere else to go. Shinako reveals their relationship to the pair at a local restaurant. Shinako admits that she hasn't let go of you. Riku acknowledges that he can wait after hearing her confession. Shinako, on the other hand, wants Riku to be as assertive as Ro. Nonetheless, Shinako eventually invites Riku in. Shinako invites Riku in, which he accepts. Shinako changes her mind at the last minute, and Riku returns home. Shinako and Riku tell their friends about what happened the night before. Riku is walking home when he notices Haru, who has brought him donuts. She suggests eating them at his place, but Riku declines. As a result, he chooses to walk her home. Riku is making significant progress at work, developing positive relationships with his co-workers, and has been offered a full-time position. Shinako and Haru, on the other hand, can't stop thinking about the men in their lives. Riku has been avoiding Haru and concentrating on her work instead. But Haru can't help but wonder about Riku. Haru goes to the convenience store, but there's a new worker there. She notices Shinako and informs her that Riku no longer works there. Shinako visits Riku's flat, the latter is surprised to see her after such a long time, and the meeting is awkward. Riku eventually walks Shinako home. The two begin to reflect on their conversations with their respective friends. Shinako visits Roa's house, but he is not present. So she decides to cook dinner for the family. Meanwhile, Haru waits outside his workplace for Riku. Riku is irritated and wishes to return home. He instead walks Haru home. Riku ends her relationship with Haru along the way. When Roa gets home, he notices Shinako in the kitchen. Roa and Shinako are at odds over their relationship, and Roa apologizes for his actions. Shinako expresses her desire to be a permanent fixture in the family but doesn't want to jeopardize it. Haru, depressed after her breakup with Riku, remains in bed while Kyuko notices her behavior change. Riku is avoiding Haru, but Shinako is shopping for Christmas and recalling their good times. Riku drinks with his friend Fukato, who invites him to a Christmas party and suggests bringing Shinako over. Haru and Kyuko discuss remaining friends with someone they have feelings for. Shinako delivers dinner to Riku's apartment, and they discuss peanuts. Riku invites Shinako to the party but declines due to cooking dinner. Haru enters Riku's flat, but the lights are off, indicating he's absent. He thinks about Shinako when he sees a crow's feather on his way home. Riku's colleague asks him if he has a girlfriend, and Shinako gives Roa a special notebook as an early Christmas present. Roa requests that Shikato draw her, and Shinako eventually ends up at Fukato's flat. Shinako and Haru attend a Christmas party at Fukato's flat, where they discuss their college days and play card games. Haru returns to work and notices her colleague Kyuko's depression about Kuma's return. Shinako invites Riku to spend the new year with her, and she accepts a gift from her dumped colleague. Shinako invites Riku to spend the new year with her, but she hugs him and refuses to pursue him. Shinako and Riku discuss their plans for the new year. Haru has given birth to her mother and daughter, and a mother and daughter shop for New Year's soba ingredients. On a New Year's Eve date, Shinako invites Riku to her house for coffee, but Riku spills coffee on the table and floor, causing tension. Shinako observes Riku's lack of assertiveness and his unease. Shinako, on the other hand, is eager to progress slowly, and Riku decides to return home. Haru returns to her flat and notices an unusual noise outside. Riku receives a phone call, widening his eyes in surprise. A police officer records Riku's statement about the incident, and after they leave, Riku consoles Haru. After the holidays, life returns to normal, and Shinako and Riku continue to hang out and eat together. Shinako receives a phone call from Roa about a fish he and his father cannot cook, and they agree to keep their relationship private to keep Roa safe. Shinako and Riku discuss various topics at his house, but Riku wants to kiss her first. Haru notices Riku's lights turned on, but she remains motionless at the bottom of the stairs. Roa and Takashita are both accepted to the same university, and they go shopping for new clothes. Shinako cooks for Roa but doesn't frequently, causing Roa to believe she did everything because she felt responsible. Shinako and a friend go out to drink, but Shinako hesitates to discuss her relationship with Riku. Her friend pulls it from her, and she can't stop thinking about Haru and Roa. Riku collides with Kyuko and inquires if the cafe is closed due to a lack of staff. Riku and Shinako meet for dinner at a local restaurant, and Riku invites her to the aquarium, but she declines due to her need to assist Roa with his relocation. Roa notices the young couple and becomes enraged. Enraged by the young couple, Roa flees to Shinako's flat, where she regrets not informing him. Riku, on the other hand, returns home and reflects on Haru and Roa's hurt expressions. They discuss their careers and plans, but Riku struggles to express his love for Roa. He requests that Shinako choose him and Roa, but she cannot. Riku encourages her to pursue Roa, and the two remain friends. Haru is still depressed, and her mother notices her daughter's depression and invites her to stay as long as she wishes. Riku leaves the milk hall with a scrap of paper and encounters a man resembling Kuma. He boards a train and experiences a mini-anxiety attack. At a bus stop, Haru recalls the first time she met Riku, but Kensuke crowing and confronts him, causing him to feel unreal. Riku staggers to a nearby bench and lights a cigarette. Haru asks Riku why he's here, but he reveals that Shinako dumped him. He admits that he enjoys being friendly to women, and it's even better if it lasts forever. Haru proves him wrong, and he declares his love for Haru with all his heart. Rikuo and his friends throw a party for him, and Haru kisses him. The doorbell rings, and one of Rikuo's female friends opens it, and Shinako is taken aback. Thanks for watching. If this series is the most liked in my anime recap production, I will make a part 2. Also, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to help me make more content.